Hello everybody and welcome to our brand new YouTube channel. I'm Bobby of East Coast Keto. Our topic today is going to be grocery shopping and how to maneuver the grocery store. But first, we're going to ask you to take a second and hit that subscribe button down below. If and when you do, we are going to notify you of our new videos and you can keep up on our topics. So after that, let's talk keto. Hello, little puppy. So grocery shopping. Okay, so you're brand new to keto. What do you do? How do you do it? There's so much to learn, isn't there? The first thing we're going to say to you guys is take it easy on yourself, okay? Because there's so much to learn, you're going to stumble, you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to eat things that you shouldn't. And we recommend that you don't beat yourself up in any way, shape, or form. You just learn from it and move on and start over right away. Don't worry about how am I going to start over. Just consider yourself, okay, that's a bump in the road. Let's move on and we're going to do best kind, okay? So be patient with yourself. As you go into a grocery store, the first thing you're going to encounter is a produce section, okay? And as you maneuver through the grocery produce, the first thing we're going to talk to you about is the fruits that are there. Now, most fruits are not keto just because they are full of natural sugars. We are allowed berries in moderation, and the number, you know what, it depends on your own keto and how much what you've allowed for yourself in your carbs for today. Most people on keto are 20 grams of carbs and less. So, for example, myself, in berries, I usually have maybe 3 or 4 berries a day. Now, that's depending on size. If it's a little tiny weensy teensy blueberry or partridge berry, we have them here in Newfoundland, they're going to be smaller, so you're going to eat more of those. As opposed to if you're looking at a great big blackberry, you might want to take it easy on those. Now, why fruit? You know, a lot of people say fruits and vegetables are good for you. They're kind of in a totally different class because of the amount of natural sugars that are in them. The whole point of keto and ketogenic living is taking your blood sugar levels and trying to keep them as even as you can all day long. So keep in mind that when you eat those berries, what's going to happen is the natural sugars are going to give you a spike in your insulin. Now, a spike this high is not going to be as bad as one that high. So if you just eat a moderate amount, you're keeping those little blips while still giving yourself that little bit of natural sugar, that little bit of natural sweetness, okay? When you're looking at vegetables, the general rule of thumb is if it grows below the ground, it's going to have more starches or more natural sugars, as they call it, other than the ones that grow above the ground. So carrots and turnips and potatoes and sweet potatoes, those are all going to be higher in natural sugars or starches. The one that we often use in moderation is the turnip. Now, keep in mind that when I say in moderation, I'm talking about, you know, a little serving, probably the size of your hand. I'm not talking about a great big plate full of turnip fries, okay? You know, use your own judgment and you know, depending on what your level of keto is, act accordingly, okay? The next thing we're going to talk about is the ones that grow above the ground. Now, the one exception to that is going to be peas. Peas are naturally sweeter, so we recommend you stay away from those. Green leafy vegetables are going to be better for you, or anything that is deep green, so kale, broccoli, lettuces, cabbages, all those guys are going to be really good for you, and that's where you're going to get most of your carbs. Most of your carbs are going to be from vegetables. So if you're brand new and you're on your little tracker and you're bringing up romaine lettuce and you look at the amount of carbs in it, don't panic. We know it's okay, it's totally fine. You do have to subtract your fiber from that, so don't worry, that's where you're going to get most of your carbs from. After the produce section, we're going to head right on over to the meat section. And with the meat section, you're going to eat the same amount of protein that you ate previous to your keto life. You're just going to choose a fattier content. If hubby Jeff was here, you'll meet him later on, I'm sure. He would say to you, he often goes to the grocery store, especially when meat is on sale, and he'll kind of stand to the side and watch as most of the people take the fattier cuts and toss them over to the side because they don't want those, they want the leaner cuts. And he just stays to the side and picks up the fattier ones and puts them in their cart because he knows that's gold to us, that's good for us. So when you're looking at meats, anything processed, sausages and stuff like that, you gotta flip it over and you gotta look at the ingredients list and see what's on there. And you need to choose the cleanest processed meat that you can. And that goes without exception. If you're even looking at one brand, whatever national brand, and they have 3 different products there, you have to look at the ingredients on each one because they are treated differently, they have different recipes, and they're going to have different ingredients in them. After the meat section, we're going to head over and we're going to look at the dairy. And when it comes to the dairy, you're going to stay away from milk because, believe it or not, that glass of milk has more sugar in it than your glass of whatever soft drink you ate or drank before keto. You're going to look for, here in Canada, you're going to look for 35% whipping cream. And that is what you're going to use in your coffee, in your tea, in your recipes, all that. Now, if you're here in Newfoundland, we have a particularly hard time to get a clean ingredient here or a clean product. Most of the ones here have either carrageenan or dextrose in them. And what you'll see a lot of us eating is a product called creme fraiche. And creme fraiche is a more clean product. Usually the ingredients are usually just cream and bacterial enzymes. It's kind of like a lighter sour cream. So you'll see a lot of us using that. Also in the dairy section, you're going to be looking at the cheeses. And when the cheeses, there's a couple of things we can tell you to watch for. Look for the harder cheese is better for you than the softer cheese, but softer cheese is allowable, okay? The block cheese is going to be ideal. Whereas suppose if you look at all the packages that they have there with all the pre-shredded stuff, the Tex-Mex blend and the Italian blend and all those that are all done for you, if you notice in the bag, you'll see that all the strands are all individual. It's not clumped together. I'm going to challenge you to take some cheese of your own, some block cheese, and take it and shred it up and put it in like a little plastic baggie or something like that, and just let it sit for a day or so and just see what happens. And I'll tell you what's going to happen now is everything is going to start clumping together, and the next thing you know, you're going to have this great big glob of cheese in the bottom of your bag that ain't no one got time for. What they do in the ones in the grocery stores, they put starches in there, and the starches is what helps the cheese from sticking together. It keeps all the strands individual. But in the keto world, a starch is pretty much just as bad, if not worse, than what sugar is. So if you look at that line that we were trying to make earlier on to keep our sugar levels straight, when you eat carbs or sugars, you're going to have a really fast spike, and it's going to go up and stay up there for a minute or so, and then it's going to drop right back down again. Whereas if you look at a starch, it's metabolized different in your body. What happens is it goes up more slowly, but when it gets up there, it's going to stay up a lot longer. And it's going to maintain and keep your sugar up there for a longer amount of time before it gradually drops off again. So like I say, in a lot of ways, starches are even worse than what a sugar would be. So you want to stay away from all starches. In particular, if you see modified food starch, stay at it in places. The last thing we're going to talk to you about in the dairy section is going to be those cheese slices. And they shouldn't even call them cheese slices. They should call them cheese type product, because they do have dairy in there. But if you look at the list of ingredients that's in the back, there's a very small amount of cheese or milk in there. It's going to be mostly all the chemicals and starches and all the fillers that they put in to make it shaped like that, so you can put it on whatever it is they put it on. The last thing we're going to talk about is all the rest of the aisles that are in there, all the ones that you're used to going up and down and walking through and getting most of your gear. I'm going to tell you right now that unfortunately most of the things that are in there are not going to be good for your keto lifestyle. If anything is in a box or a jar or a can, that's going to be full of sugars. It's going to be full of salts, the table salt that we shouldn't eat, and it's also going to be full of lots of preservatives and chemicals and stabilizers. Now, even if you look at a product with a best before date on it, the longer the best before date, the longer the shelf life of a product is, the shorter your life. So it's the more that it's going to affect you. There's more chemicals, more processed in there. So when you are in a ketogenic lifestyle, you need to get used to going through and checking every label. Now, we don't just mean the amount of starches on there. Keto is ingredients first. So if you pick up a product at the grocery store and it has an ingredients list this big versus one that's that big, that right there is a red flag. That should be a flag to you that there's so much in this can that's not natural, that's processed. Put it right back. Don't even worry about the amount of carbs that's in there. It's not good for you to eat. In general, look for a smaller ingredients list versus the bigger ones, and the most optimum would be to choose foods that don't have an ingredients list, like real meat that comes off a cow or a chicken or a pig, real vegetables, real food, the food that your grandparents would have eaten years ago before all the grocery stores all came about. Just think about real food, real whole products. Another thing we're going to ask you to look for is when you're looking at a label, you want to look for sugars. You need to know all the names of hidden sugars. I'll drop a picture down below to show you guys some of the names of hidden sugars for you. You want to watch for starches. Any type of starches, as we just discussed a few minutes ago, starches are bad for you. You want to look for any words that start with modified or complex or poly. Those are all red flags to tell you that this product or ingredient has been taken and chemically changed and is no longer in its natural state. And like I say, just stick to as close to real whole foods as you possibly can. So that's pretty much grocery shopping in a nutshell. Remember that keto is ingredients first, and you really need to check every label that's out there. So that's about it for this time. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you on our next video where we will talk keto. Talk to you soon. Bye.